Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Mueller, I had the opportunity to go to Russia with the Codell last couple of weeks ago, and the FSB Deputy Director met with us and the head of counterintelligence. They said that they had sent a memo to you, or I believe it was to the FBI, and I presume you got it, in 2011 about the Sarnoffs, that they'd been radicalized and they were fearful that they may be some threat either to us or to Russia if they returned, and wanted some information about when they would return. They thought there were some laws that maybe impeded your ability to do a complete study or carry your study for a longer period of time. I'd like to ask you this. First, did you get that paper from the FSB or from the counterintelligence about the Sarnoffs? Number one. Number two, why could you not follow up on it further than you did, and is there legislation needed to be passed to allow you to do that that would be keeping within the rights of American citizens? And three, are the relations between the FBI and the FSB improved to where we can share intelligence to work against the threat of radical Islam and terrorism in both of our countries?
In response to number one, yes, we did get what we call a terror line through our legat in Moscow in March of 2011. Agent was assigned to it, and agent did a thorough investigation, ran through all the records checks, went to Bunker Hill Community College where he had spent time. I did neighborhood research before he then interviewed the parents and finally interviewed Tamerlan himself. After all those efforts, we did not find any indication that he was involved with terrorism, nor did we find predication for further investigative efforts such as wiretap or what have you. We then reported the extent of that investigation back to the Russians and asked for any additional material they had that would assist us in furthering up additional investigation. And we got, after actually three requests, we got no response from them. We did, I think, all the investigation that could have been done. Any additional information at that time, I do not believe, would have turned up more evidence of his ultimate radicalization. And finally, in terms of the FSB, yes, we had a chilly period with the FSB. As you, I think, know, met with General Bortnikov several weeks before you did after Boston. They have been helpful to our investigation, and we hope that we can continue to exchange information to prevent further terrorist attacks, particularly in the United States.
Why was there not an ability to let them know that he returned to Dagestan, which was their request to know that?
Because we did not pick that up. When he got on the plane, there were several reasons, and that is one of the
What are the reasons? Because that's the impression I got, and this is a big leap, but they said that if they would have known, if you would have followed up and they would have known he was coming back to Dagestan, that possibly the Boston Marathon bombing would not have occurred. I presume that means they'd have offed him, which would have been great.
Perhaps. In this particular case, the warning went to the task force, and not the warning, I should say, the fact of his having left went to the task force, and for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is the case had been closed some time ago, that particular indication that he was on his way back to Russia did not get acted upon.
Is there something that needs to be corrected? Has it been corrected? Is there a law that
Yes.
needs to be changed?
Yes. No, it does not need law. It requires a correction to our procedures, which we've done to assure that every such notice has a recorded record. It cannot be done informally, somebody talking across the table.
Satisfied. Thank you, sir. Let me ask you about this other man, Tadashev, who was killed in Florida, and apparently was one of the guys that killed the three marijuana you knew how to get marijuana in here somewhere, but he killed those three marijuana guys up in Massachusetts.
I'm not certain what you're talking about, but please, the question.
There was another fellow that was a friend of Tamerlan's who was in Florida and being investigated by FBI agents, and they killed him. You remember that, don't you?
Yeah, I would say that there was a response that to a threat that resulted.
What was the threat? Because at first the reports were there was a knife or something, and then later they said there was no weapon.
That's still under investigation.
Okay. How did you get knowledge of Tadashev and his involvement in this crime? Was it through the FSB or was it your own investigation?
Actually, it was a number of ways, including one of the programs that is under scrutiny today.
What do you mean, 70?
The time of the gentleman.
215 and 702?
Time of the gentleman has expired.
Chairman, if I could
Director-
ask, he
the
says
director
that-
can answer that question.
Yeah, is it 215 and 702? Is that what you mean?
There was effort done in terms of that particular program as well, but I will tell you that we came upon him in a variety of ways.
Thank you, sir, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.